Hello YouTube, I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and on this channel, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. And we have here a question from YouTube user RD, who asked us about 2 weeks ago, "Hello Vince, hello. Is it status quo for an employer to not respond to a representation or demand letter? My attorney claims this has not happened to him in 25 years of practice, and it is happening to me now. What would be a possible explanation? I know it could be a million of different things, but would you indulge us, please, with some speculation as to why the opposite side would choose ignorance? Thanks on behalf of everyone." Okay, so I can list off a couple of reasons. First and foremost, there are employers who just hide their head in the sand. They just say, I can't deal with this right now. And they pretend it's not happening. That is common. That is why I think your attorney is absolutely full of shit if she or he thinks that they've been practicing 25 years and they've never had an employer just not respond to a demand letter. Yeah, that is not true. If an attorney said that to you, they are probably not an employment attorney, or something funny is going on. I don't know, but that doesn't make any sense to me. It happens. It doesn't happen often. Most employers are going to go ahead and respond because they want to look at whether or not they need to get the case settled. And so we've had the in-house counsel, Ivan Hanel, on the channel, who gave you kind of a rundown of what he would do if he got such a letter. If I remember, he was very proactive. He was responding. He was communicating. He was looking in. I think he was doing an investigation, right? These are all things that are commonly seen. I would say probably about 80% of the time. But it happens where people don't respond. That does occur. Now, there's other reasons why they might not respond. They might be doing an internal investigation. They might be going bankrupt and just not care. They might think your attorney is somebody who will never actually file. They might think you won't actually file. They might think the letter doesn't describe any culpable claims, and they just don't care at all. The letter might have sucked. This sounds like I'm blaming your attorney. First and foremost, I'm not. Like, the most likely answer here is that they just panicked and they didn't want to respond. Right? There are companies that don't have a general counsel, and there are general counsels who don't want to go pay for employment counsel, and often both of those groups just don't respond to these letters because they don't know what to do with them, and they're scared and terrified, and they don't want to deal with it, and they just hope it goes away. Now, there's also certain companies who do the math, and they figure out that, like, oh, if we don't respond, a lot of these people never file, so we just don't respond ever, and we see what happens. That is also fairly common. We see that a lot. I shouldn't say that. We don't see that a lot. Wage attorneys see that a lot. Unpaid wages, unpaid overtime, stuff like that. A lot of times employers will just not file or just not respond in the hopes that it'll go away because they don't really know how to deal with, like, the enormity of the problem. Like, that's the thing that human beings do. They just look at the problem and they say, oh, this is a huge problem. I can't deal with it. It's just too much. Well, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, they hope for the best. That happens too, RD. But as you mentioned, there are a million and one reasons why they could just not be responding to you. It could also just be the letter got lost in the mail. I mean, that happens. The post office is not what it once was. And, like, the pandemic was not kind to the U.S. Postal Service at all. So, listen, if your attorney is an old-timer and sends letters to the Postal Service, I have concerns. That is not a reasonable or reliable service at this point, and I would recommend that no attorney be sending demand letters through the Postal Service. I would tell you that if you want a hard copy, it should probably be FedExed. With, like, a certification, like a receipt of some kind. But also you should be faxing it and emailing it simultaneously, right? Like, you need multiple ways to ensure the employer actually got it. If it was just email, it could have gone to spam. If it was just fax, somebody could have just tossed it out. Like, you usually would have multiple means of getting your demand letter to the employer because shit happens. It's a real world and stuff happens. So that's also a very real possibility. Don't discount that the person opening the mail got it, saw it, and either hates the employer or hates you. Either way, They could hide that letter. They could toss that letter out, right? Somebody hates you, they might say, oh, I'll throw this letter out so RD doesn't get paid. Or somebody hates the company, they might see this letter from you and from your attorney and say, ha, I'll throw this letter out so the company doesn't respond and they'll get in trouble. That happens too, right? Mailrooms are not similar to the postal service. They're not what they used to be, right? It's not where people start and work their way up anymore. It's often just like a duty foisted off on people who are already really busy, and employees are not happy these days. Employees haven't been treated well over the past, ever, but the past decade, certainly things have not progressed the way we might hope. And with inflation, people are not feeling like they're paid properly because they weren't paid properly before the inflation. They're definitely not paid properly now. So there's just a lot of angst that could be in play too. I'm going to stop listing reasons at random and just say, listen, as you noted, there are many, many, many possible reasons. The only thing that really jumped out at me here is your attorney saying that's never happened to him in 25 years of practice. Nope. I'm not saying your attorney's a liar, because I think I might get in trouble if I do. But like, subscribe, comment down below if this video was useful in some way. And remember, almost everybody works. And not everybody gets the demand letter.